Daniel Backer.
Hello. Alrighty, y'all. So yeah, I'm Danny Backer, Daniel Backer as well. I don't really prefer one or the other, so call me both. But I'm going to give you guys a little presentation on Faust here, a little historical context, and then just share a personal story about how I came across the Faust legend. But before I do that, I do want to just give a huge shout out to everybody at the Spade. This has been amazing, and just to see independent theater sold out 3 nights in a row, hugely inspiring. Woo! So. So I had a pretty interesting fall because this is my first year as a teacher. Do we have any teachers in the audience by any chance? Yes.
Ex-teacher.
Woo!
Oh, ex-teacher. All right. There's got to be a story there. Well, basically, if you don't know, being a first-year teacher and coming across Faust is a true synchronicity, and that's what it was for me. I did not realize really what it was about, and it turns out it is this enormous critique of epistemology and knowledge, and this treatise on like occultism. And that was not really anything that I was into or was expecting from Faust, but I came across this legend by listening to the Duncan Trussell Family Hour podcast, if you guys have ever heard of that. And there was an occultist scholar on it named Mitch Horowitz. And he just completely blew my mind in talking about how Goethe's Faust in particular revises the traditional Faust myth. Because in Christopher Marlowe's version of it, it was a much more cut and dry moral tale, with a moral that you should not sell your soul to the devil. And Goethe, it's subjective. We don't know, actually. Goethe decided that actually the truer dynamic of the Faust legend is that Faust and Mephistopheles, as the devil is known in the Faust legend, are much more in a kind of equal partnership and a dance, and neither one really gets the best of the other. And so that's what just completely blew my mind as I was going through this. And like I said, as a first-year teacher, I was starting to question different things that I knew, different things that I believed, because I thought I was super smart. And then teaching children shows you that you are not smart at all. Basically because they have a special talent for zeroing in onto the exception to whatever you just said. So any claim that you make about reality, a kid is just fantastic at being like, yeah, but what about this? And then before long, you feel super stupid, okay? And that's actually where we meet Faust at the very beginning of the play. After actually like several prologues and preambles where they're trying to deconstruct theater itself, we finally get the main character Faust in his study. And he is very much a product of the Enlightenment. And to not get too into the dense history, he is educated. He's learned everything that can be illuminated with the light of knowledge, and he finds himself immensely dissatisfied with that. And so, the tabs don't make it any quicker. There we go. So this is Faust's opening line. I have pursued, alas, philosophy, jurisprudence, and medicine, and help me God, theology, with fervent zeal through thick and thin, and here, poor fool, I stand once more, no wiser than I was before. So, in addition to being extremely relatable, this is also the premise of the Faust legend. And most people, when they talk about Faust, they focus on this deal that he makes with the devil. You know, that is most of the narrative action. But sometimes they gloss over the framing here, that Faust essentially does not want to commit his life to rationality or science anymore. He wants to turn to occultism and magic. Basically everything that exists outside of the light that is illuminated through knowledge. Give me 1 second. It's dry down here. So essentially after Faust expresses his dissatisfaction with the Enlightenment, with anything that can be known, he opens a book of magic that is on his shelf, and he summons 2 spirits at the very beginning. And they are the sign of the macrocosm and the sign of the earth spirit. And if you are very astute and practiced in occultism, this is a representation of the idea of as above, so below. Now, if you've never heard this before, it comes from something called the Emerald Tablet, authored by a mythical figure named Hermes Trismegistus. If you don't know that, you might have heard of Hermeticism before. That's basically who came up with it. We're not sure if he was a real person or not, but he's this representation that wears a cloak and has all these fun symbols that you probably see tattooed on people in Bushwick, actually. But that's where a lot of this stuff comes from, and it's just super fascinating. But in addition to being this like evoking of magic and occultism, we are really getting this thought pattern that emerges in so many different avenues of art. Because, for example, if you've ever seen the painting The School of Athens with Plato and Aristotle, you see Plato pointing up to the sign of the macrocosm, and you see Aristotle gesturing downward to the sign of the earth spirit. Now, likewise, if you've ever read the Tao Te Ching, you will see a lot of opposites that are dismantled in this similar way, that anything that is up actually contains some downness in it, and anything that is down actually has some upness in it. And it's really more that these are constructions of the human mind as opposed to features of objective reality. And that is just a blast to me aesthetically. And it's also something that can be used as a bit of like a thinking creative tool to evoke a mystical experience for yourself. Now, I'm not going to beg you to believe me, but I will show you a poem that I wrote with this in mind. So give me one moment, please. Here's a cool thinking tool you probably never learned in school. Instead of living with the fiction that when it comes to words and diction, this is this and that is that, and neither moves nor forth nor back, we might be more smart and fit to see in the thing its opposite. So up and down and right and left are never more so neatly cleft, and whether happy, sad, calm, bombastic, their differences become elastic. The gates come down and boundaries fall, and scaling up the southern wall is the end of beginnings, the future of pasts, till invading the falsest with the truest at last. Near and far yonder, each north, south, and east, west will feel the same heart and each beat in their chest. But you might say, beyond perspective, that north and south are real, objective. For if you started for the south, with the north upon your mouth, though northern bound within your mind, not one polar bear would you find. Yes, to this there is some truth. With pesky food stuck to its tooth, for all this switching of left and right, the bright of day with the dead of night, shouldn't their features and ornamentals be more than simply incidental? For if in the night you search the sky, beyond debate and double blind, you'll see the moon and stars in kind, but the rising sun you'll never find. While it's true the details are clearly there, the ground is hard, we breathe the air, the truest has a predilection to nest itself in contradiction, not because left and right aren't real. One need only start a car, take one wrong turn, and there you are. But to know them as right and left, when one is safety and one is death, does not from natural facts arise. We made it so when we drew the line. So when what something is contains what it's not, it isn't to say we should relish in rot. The takeaway is a simple inference. To know a thing, we make a difference. And to get to the bottom of everything present, we come out on top when we know what it isn't. Not because everything's hollow and fake, but because everything and nothing are really the same. So when we take all the things and we call it all one, which is all everything ever told us it's done, at first there were many, and now there are none. Because for a thing to be separate from all that it's not, there needs to be somebody calling the shots. But with each call and judgment, the best we afford, in the place of a name, we have metaphor. And when we draw lines in a wrecked category, we're really bewitched and just lost in a story. It's the tip of the iceberg, and affixed to its top is the brittlest grip, but it's all that we've got. But beneath the surface and under the flesh is the secretive meeting of spirit and death. The body is substance and the soul nothingness, and there's nary a trace of its end or its edge. With no end or beginning, no future or past, the spirit emerges from slumber at last. So what do we call it? What's in a name? That's urging the spirit to be docile and tame. Break free from the shackles, unbound from the sight of the punitive ruler with brutaler might that casts darkness within just under the bright. And when we're searching the sky for the sun in the night, it might be more successful if we look where it's light. While the moon and the stars can't be argued away, umpteen miles from here, they're calling it day, where the sun reflects in every eye, while the night on this side shares the same sky. Thank you. Alrighty guys, so I also made a cinematic video essay about the Faust legend that is slightly less dense than what I just performed for you right now. So if you guys have any interest, I'm passing out some QR codes. I did a similar thought creative process in the creation of my novel, which I have some copies available in the back. There's also some links in the YouTube video. But I did want to leave you with another reading from Faust, where basically he is yearning and opining what it would be like to achieve that transcendent knowledge beyond scientific rationalism. You might know it as enlightenment, as gnosis. There's a lot of different ways of thinking about it, but it's a transcendent moment that Faust is yearning for. And the way that he describes it is that it would be as though you grew wings and you were flying after the sun so that it never sets. The earth is eternally illuminated beneath you. What we know not of that our need is dire, and what we know lacks application. However, this bright hour's fair benison, let such low spirits not embitter. Observe how in the flaming evening sun those green embowered cabins glitter. He yields and sinks, the day is lived and done. He hastes beyond, new life to breed and nourish. Oh, that I have no buoyant wings to flourish, to strive and follow on and on. I'd see in endless vesper rays the silent world beneath me glowing, the valleys all appeased, each hill ablaze, the silver brooks to golden rivers flowing. No more would then this rugged bluff deny, with cliff and precipice the godlike motion. Already with its sun-warmed bays the ocean reveals itself to the astonished eye. At last it seems the god is downward sinking, yet to new urge awakes the mind. I hasten on, his ceaseless radiance drinking, the day ahead of me, night left behind, the waves below, and overhead the sky. A happy fancy, meanwhile he must pass, to spirit wings will scarce be joined the last corporeal wings wherewith to fly. Yet it is innate in us all, that feeling ever upward forward presses when lost above in heaven's azure spaces. The skylark trills his jubilant call. When over craggy fir-clad highlands, on outspread wings the eagle rides, and striving over plains and islands, the crane toward his homeland glides. Thank you. All right, keep the applause going, please. Keep it going.